Mindset is a muscle like any other muscle you have to build. And I call it going to the spiritual gym. A lot of people don't let themselves succeed because they're scared. If you do something every single day that scares the hell out of you in the direction of that you want to go with your business, you will change your life so quickly you won't even know what hit you.
All right. Today we are talking about money mindset and with none other than Jen Sincero. So, if you don't know who Jen is, oh my goodness, you are in for a treat. She has written the best selling book. She's a #1 New York Times bestselling author. She's got the Badass series. So, she's got You Are a Badass. How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living Your Awesome Life. That came out back in, oh my goodness, like 2013. She has remained on the New York Times bestseller list for over 5 years. She sold over 5 million copies worldwide. It's available in over 40 languages. This was a book that nobody wanted to publish, that they told her, nobody's going to want to hear this. It is now 5 million copies and 40 languages. It continues to grow in popularity. These things are not slowing down. I can't walk into Target or a bookstore without these books like popping off the shelf. You'll know what I'm talking about. They're really bright. They're really fun. One of my favorite books from her is You Are a Badass at Making Money. It's about mastering the mindset of wealth. Okay. I have read this book. I couldn't even tell you how many times. It is how I get out of a funk, get out of a, should I really charge that? Are people going to really pay for that? Am I really worth that? Just anything when it comes to money, wealth consciousness, you name it. Jen is like, to me, there's something just about the way she writes that I just get it. And it just kind of kicks my butt. And maybe that is something you're going to need to hear as well. So we get to dive in talking to Jen about business owners specifically, and how come I can pay for, 55 employees, but I can't give myself the raise that I should have been gotten maybe like 5 years ago, right? There's a lot of money mindset going on all day long that is stopping you from that next level, that is stopping you from bigger revenue, bigger profits, bigger paychecks for yourself. Some of you might not even be paying yourself yet. We've got to fix that. All right. So I hope you enjoy Jen Sincero and her talk on how to be a badass. Hi, Jen. Welcome to Well Oiled Operations.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited. I've been a huge fan of your books. I've recommended them many times to many business owners, especially when maybe money mindset comes up, or I can tell, there's some hesitation there. So I'm excited to dive in to all of the things. But first, I would love for you to share your entrepreneurial journey. You got started a little later, and I think it's fun for people to hear that it's never too late. And I would love for you to share, how did you get into the entrepreneurial world?
Well, basically, long story, but I was basically pretty flat broke in my 40s. And I had written a couple of books, but they, didn't do that great. And I was just always scraping by. And then I finally realized that I had had a really fun life, but I'd never really focused on making money. And that might be why I never had any. So I got really serious about learning about it and studying wealth consciousness, reading all the books, going to all the seminars. In that process, I met a life coach, and this was like, I don't know, 15 years ago, when life coaching was kind of new and nobody knew what the hell it was. And anyway, took a big chance, signed up with her, and she really helped me create an online course that was sort of my first big entrepreneurial thing that I did, teaching entrepreneurs how to write and sell their nonfiction book proposals, since I had already written 2 books, even though I didn't do great. I knew how to do. So anyway, so that was it. And then, we worked on my wealth mindset the entire time, and I constantly doubled my prices and did all the scary things. And that was sort of how I got the ball rolling. And through that process, I came up with the idea to write You Are a Badass. And then that turned into a whole other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear, when you launched the first book, like, did you know it was going to be big? At what point were you like, I'm all in, this is it? I would love to hear that.
The first Badass book.
Yeah.
Well, at the time, because I had read every self-help book under the sun, and they helped me so much, but I was
Yeah.
like, none of them are funny, none of them are edgy, none of them, and since I was a writer, I was like, I could write the crap out of a self-help book. So for me at the time, it honestly was, I was building my life coaching business, and I'd had, again, 2 books already. So I sort of my highest hope was that it would help me get more clients, just sort of give me some
Okay.
street cred, because then I would be a coach with a book. Never in a trillion years did I imagine what would end up happening with it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's incredible. So what made you think habits when you had been writing books, writing nonfiction, thinking life coaching? What was like the thing that drew you to writing about habits first? And like the
Actually,
just you are a badass. I'm sorry, I should say the
oh,
first book. Yeah, yeah, sorry.
okay, yeah, the first book. Uh, well, because it was all the stuff that had changed my life so massively.
Mhm.
So I was like, I'm going to just sort of give, hopefully people sort of a game plan on how this mindset stuff works. Because quite frankly, I kept reading these books and it's like, all you have to do is change your words, thoughts, and beliefs and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, seriously, I've been broke and I'm living in a garage at the age of 40 and all I have to do is change so I was kind of in a bad mood about it, but
Yeah.
it actually really works. And I was like, okay,
Mhm.
this actually worked. And it worked for me, who was, I thought, the most hopeless case ever. So I really had to just shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah, so good. What would you tell somebody who has a business? Maybe they're successful from the outside, it looks great, but they're just not having the success they want on the inside, right? A lot of times it's like the business looks good, the business is, bringing in all this money, but maybe personally they're not taking home a lot or there's not a lot left over for them.
A lot of money left over for them.
Yeah, whether that's profit or them paying themselves or anything.
Yeah, it's wealth consciousness. It's so interesting. Money is one of those things we're all supposed to be really good at making, and
Yeah.
we use it every single solitary day of our lives, but we don't learn about it. It's not one of the things that we actually learn about. And most people have kind of an uncomfortable relationship with it. And so getting clear on, of course, if I said, to everybody, I'm going to give you $10,000, nobody would be upset about that. But if you were going to charge $10,000 or give yourself a $10,000 raise, it gets weird.
Mhm.
And so we may think we're okay with money, but if you're not making the kind of money you want to make, you've got something, and often it's very deeply buried in your subconscious that thinks that you're either not worth it, or, rich people suck and it's not cool to do that kind of thing, or, whatever your fears are, you've got something going on. So I highly recommend really digging deep and figuring out what your money story is.
Yeah. And, one thing that I was noticing just over the years of entrepreneurship is what my comfort level was in my bank account, right? What was my bare minimum of savings and how
Yeah.
if it would get over it, I'd have to spend it or I get to spend it and then I would be back, right? But it's risen over the years, but it's just interesting to see when I was stuck, why I was stuck and what was I thinking and,
Yeah.
to be able to just experience different things. How has that been for you going from, like you said, very
Yeah.
broke, living like that to now having these amazing books, a thriving business? How have you just continuously up leveled your wealth consciousness? Hey, are you a business owner that's looking to not just increase their revenue, but actually have it positively impact your profit without you working more? Because let's be honest, there isn't any more time in the day. If so, I want to invite you to my free training called Protect Your Profit. I'm going to be breaking down our 3-part well-oiled operations framework. We're going to be going over the plan, the people, and the process. This training is completely free. We've already had over 100,000 small business owners join us, as this is one of our most popular trainings and you're in luck because we've got another one coming up very soon and it will be live. The strategy I'll share in this training is how we landed on the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies in America list the last 2 years in a row. And I'll show you how to create a winning team of revenue generators, people that actually make you money, not cost you money, even if you don't think you can afford it. Go to welloiledclass.com and get registered for free. You'll walk away from this session with strategies you can actually implement and apply immediately, as well as I'll be gifting my 16-page hiring handbook, how to recruit, hire, and train top-tier talent. So come hang out with me and a few other 100 small business owners who are all looking to scale their business while scaling back their time. So get signed up for free at welloiledclass.com or click the link in the show notes and I will see you there.
It's a constant process. They say new level, new devil.
Yeah.
So I find like I'm really good at spending big, like 100 grand. I can write a check. I renovated my house, wasn't scared, but I will spend hours looking for the best deal on like a wooden spoon. Like it's ridiculous. I'm really cheap about parking, like hate paying.
Okay.
like $2, can't do it. So it's interesting to just sort of see where your weirdness is and why your weirdness is. And one of the exercises that I put in both You Are a Badass and You're a Badass at Making Money, because it's such a good one, is to write a letter to money as if it's a person. And,
Mm,
and then you sort of see on the page in front of you, like, I love you. I wish I had more of you, but I don't trust you. And I feel dirty admitting I want you. And you just sort of get to see whatever your personal push pull is. And that's a really great starting point to bust yourself and sort of unravel what's going on with you.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny too. Like you said, there are some things you'll spend it and some things you won't. And
Mhm.
what's going on behind the scenes? Like, what do you value? What do you
Yeah.
not? Right. Um, if I can save time, I will spend money all day. Right. But if I look at something and it doesn't have that time associated with it, I'll be like, oh, it's fine. Like, I don't need it. So I do
Yeah.
think it's interesting to see like
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah.
I love it. What is the first thing you would suggest people need to do to start thinking about an abundance mindset versus a lack mindset?
The first thing you need to do is pay attention to your thoughts and your words and how you talk about it and how you think about it. And that's it's it's a pretty interesting and kind of fun thing to do, I think, is just to really and one of the best ways to do it is to listen to how the people closest to you talk about it, because we tend to sort of see
Mm,
water seeks its own level. So who you hang out with is a very good mirror of how you're doing it. So just really listen to how they talk, if they're always talking about things are too expensive, or if they're talking about how much rich people suck, or how so-and-so is a greedy pig, or, whatever their thing is,
mhm.
just really listen to it and catch yourself in your thoughts. But that's because then what you can do is you can start change much more positive and much more in the abundance mindset.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. So watching, observing the people that are around
Yeah.
you, which is
Yeah.
funny because we probably complain about, oh my goodness, she said this today. Oh my goodness, like, right. And we're saying that, but it is somebody we hang around a lot. We probably have very similar mindsets and thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Absolutely.
you feel like how do you stay positive all the time? I know people look at me, they think I'm a very positive person and they assume I must just be in this like mode constantly. Can you explain like what that looks like for you?
I think it's impossible to stay positive all the
Yeah.
time. And I think being around anybody like that would be super irritating. It's impossible. You're faking it if you are. I mean,
Yeah.
we're emotional creatures. So there is up and down. And but this whole positive thinking thing is more about allowing yourself, in my opinion, my personal take on the positive
Yeah.
thinking is allowing yourself to be human, allowing yourself to have the temper tantrums and the sadness and the freakouts, but catching yourself when you get too either identified with it, like I am
Mm,
depressed, I am heartbroken, I suck at A, B, C, and D. Um, Catch yourself in that. And also stuff gets momentum, right? So you can sort of just coast on that momentum. And there is this weird sort of comfort. I remember there's a great song line that Kurt Cobain had, I miss the comfort in being sad.
mm,
And there's sort of this sort of like squishy, not great, but just sort of comfort ickiness that we get into. And so to just
yeah.
bust yourself on that, feel it, but then, get on with it already.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's exactly how I am. I trust me, there are definitely things going on in the business. There are moments where I'm not happy with everything, but I do feel it. Maybe I'm irritated, but I feel it and move on. Like there's just no sense in sitting in it for weeks and or
Absolutely.
days or hours sometimes. And
Yeah.
I think it's easy to sit in it a little too long.
I do too. And I think that we are encouraged to in our society. Like we live in a very fear-based, a very complain-based society. So
Mhm.
it's almost not cool to be as positive as you are. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
it's sort of like people roll their eyes, but it's like you're doing the
Right.
work. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
I felt it. It sucked. I was irritated, but I'm gonna take control of my life and shift my focus.
Yeah. You mentioned, then you'd be faking it. There's this phrase like fake it till you make it. Do
Mhm.
you think that what do you think about that phrase, first of all? Do you believe in it? Do you believe there is
I
no faking it?
it depends how it's used. I
Yeah.
I I actually really love it because I think there is great power in feeling something that you're excited about before it exists.
Mhm.
So that because we are energetic creatures and we attract energetic things to us. And so if you can sort of get into that excited feeling of what it is, however you can get there, I think sometimes faking it till you make it sort of like daydreaming that
Mm,
whatever's happening has already happened. And
yeah.
in that sense, I think it works. But I think sort of faking it when you're not feeling good to constantly force yourself to feel like you're happy when you're not. I think they're also with this power of positivity thing, that's sort of another reason to feel badly about yourself if you're not positive all the time. So I kind of feel really strongly about that one.
Yeah, for sure. No, I
Yeah.
love that. When it comes to building new habits and thinking about like you said, fake it till you make it, really stepping into that and believing, what do you say to the person who's like, I just can't believe it? Like, I don't have the confidence. Like, where do you get the confidence to believe it's going to happen when there's no evidence for me to see that right now?
Right. Sometimes it is too big of a stretch. And
Mhm.
so because it really is about keeping that energy up, right? Because you know what it's like when you're hopeless and you're scared and you're feeling like a failure and you're focusing on all the things you screwed up, and
Yeah.
it's really hard to get that momentum going to do the scary thing that you got to do to push through, to sort of like have that joie de vivre that lets you sort of take the big leap into the unknown. So I recommend, if you really can't wrap your mind around it and if you're really having trouble believing it, don't focus on it at all. Focus on
Mm.
something that you are really good at. Put on a really awesome song. Call a friend who makes you laugh your ass off. Like, get in that energy in a different way. And just, if you can't focus on it and feel good about it, don't focus on it.
So good, because your brain's just saying, you're right, you can't. So
Right.
we just keep believing it and trying to force it when it's just too hard. Our brain is smarter than that. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and if that's the only story that you can come up with, then just leave it alone, give it a
Yeah.
rest, and then you'll feel better, and then you might actually be able to look back and be like, "Actually, I did that one other thing, maybe I could pull this off." So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
One of the phrases I like to use when I can't believe the thing yet is just saying, well, I'm committed to figuring it out. I'm committed to working
love
on that
that.
goal versus like,
Yeah,
I'm going to make, 10 million gazillion dollars in the next, right? It's like that just might be so far stretched. But when
right.
you know you truly can control your commitment, your energy, your day
I
to
love
day,
that.
makes it a lot easier.
I love that. I also use, I just wanna see what I can get away with. Just like,
Ooh, yes.
I wanna see if I can do it. Why not?
Yeah.
Like, we're on a planet in infinite space. Why couldn't I
Mhm.
double my income this year, you know?
Yeah. So good. What do you think holds we talked about people and friends can maybe hold people back, but you're hearing it. What else is holding somebody back from shifting into that more of a positive mindset?
I think people are probably the biggest one,
Yeah.
and that is why, a lot of people don't let themselves succeed, because 'cause they're scared of losing the people they
Mm.
love. Like, even again, abandonment is like the number one fear of all humans on earth. I think being judged, for being successful. I think I guess, fear of failure, but that's so far reaching, but I think,
Yeah.
looking like an idiot, it really a lot of the fears have to do with other people. It's all about
Yeah.
how you're being perceived, right? I mean,
Mm.
and then there's always a fear of, like, investing in yourself so heavily and not having it work and wind up living on the street. Like, that's a very
Yeah.
real fear as well, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I really think most of it comes around other people.
Okay. I love it. What are
Yeah.
some habits or some day-to-day routines, rhythms, things we can incorporate to start working on all of this and to really kind of step into a new us?
Mindset is a muscle like any other muscle you have to build, and I
Mm.
call it going to the spiritual gym.
Okay.
So, since a lot of people listening are already super successful, it's kinda like you can get into really good shape by going to the gym, but you don't get to stop going to the gym once you get into shape, or you
Yeah.
get flabby again. So you have to keep that in shape. So I always have my clients have a very specific spiritual gym workout that they do every single solitary day, even if
Mm.
it's just 15 minutes. But you have to be, if you're working on money, you are reading a wealth consciousness book.
Mm.
Um, you are listening to wealth consciousness podcasts. You are meditating. You are listening to music that makes you feel like you could flip over a car. You are walking in nature. You have to know, exercise is big for people. So you got to write down the specifics of what it is that makes you feel like a superhero. And you have to do it every single solitary day to keep that muscle
Yeah.
strong. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so good. So something that I have done with your the money book, the badass at making money, is it's one of those books where if I ever feel like I'm getting stuck or I'm second guessing something or I feel like I'm plateauing, I will reread that book or
Mhm.
listen to the audiobook. And a lot of people don't think to reread books. They're like, oh, that was a great book. And then it just sits there. You
I've
can
reread
pull
The
that book.
Science of Getting
Yes.
It like 100 times. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think it's so important for
Yeah.
for people to hear that. Like if you have found like that book, it really helps me like feel like I'm a badass, right? So if I found something, I'm going to replay that or rinse and repeat it. It's kind of like my prescription when all of a sudden things aren't working well, right? So
Yeah.
find it, right? If you haven't bought Jen's books yet, buy them, listen to them. If it's one of those books that click, it's over and over until it just becomes your new norm. Because a lot of times you're like, oh, I forgot that, or oh, I forgot how that made me feel, and then it comes back.
And also, like, I'm rereading The Power of Now, which I read like 30 years ago, and
Yeah,
it's a completely different book to me now because I'm
yeah,
different, so it's like you get such different things also out of it each time you read because you're in a different place. So I'm a
yeah,
huge believer in rereading stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You're a different person. You are drinking water out of a fire hose. You might not even caught something that was in chapter one that you didn't even
Exactly.
remember, right? So it's just so good. The power of rinsing and repeating is absolutely massive. Okay,
Totally.
I would love to kind of just side note for a minute, is asking you just like building the brand. Like, what a powerful brand. I just walked into like a half price books, and as I walk by, I immediately see your book because it's just the branding is so good. It pops off the shelf. You've got a few different variations of it. I would love to hear just like you building this brand, like the good, the bad, the ugly. What was something that stood out to you as you started to build like this empire of the badass books?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, I have to give all the credit to the guy who designed the book jacket. Like
Mm,
he totally knocked it out of the park. So he did that. And honestly, the brand, it was, I think the reason that it did so well is because it was the first book that had the bright cover and the curse word on it that was in the
yeah.
self-help. So I just got there first.
Okay.
Uh,
But
but the
that
way that
matters,
it
really trying to
totally
stand
matters.
out.
Who knew?
Absolutely.
My God, no one is as surprised as I am. But uh, the brand really came from this is going to sound cheesy, but just really
Yeah.
being authentic because I uh I didn't do it on purpose to, I don't know. It was sort of like it was melding a genre that was sort of, a little sincere and a little precious and putting a bit more of a spin on it, a little more irreverence, a more,
Yeah.
edginess to it. And so I think it was really just being brave enough to put my voice into a world where it was kind of not acceptable. And so
Yeah.
I really think with anybody branding their business, there's always somebody else doing what you're doing there, unless you've discovered something totally new.
Yeah.
But this whole thing with authenticity is so important because that's what you bring to your brand is you,
Mhm.
and nobody else has it. So that was such a wake up call to me just to really always figure out how I would say it. And at times, when I was writing that book, there were certain things that I wrote about that I was like, oh my God, I can't talk about like this crazy thing I did because it's going to discredit me. But
Yeah.
meanwhile, it was the weirder it was, the more my readers really resonated with it because I was brave enough to be my true
Say it.
self. Yeah.
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 How was it for you to step into being one of the first and put it out there? Like, were you thinking, did you have the confidence of this is going to work? I'm going to do it anyway? Or was there a part of you thinking like I could fall flat on my face with this?
Oh, well, nobody wanted it. That's the ultimate
Mm,
cosmic joke. Yeah, we couldn't get it published at all. And
wow.
then like the last publisher on the very edge of the earth was like, all right. I mean, and everybody kept saying, what the last thing the world needs is another self-help book. I was like, yeah, I know,
Yeah.
but there's one with curse words. Like, so anyway, we couldn't get it published at all. And I was
Okay.
actually looked to self-publishing, which I was not excited to do. And so, all the grown-ups and the professionals told me it wasn't gonna work, and then it ended up working, so there was plenty of reason to doubt it, but I also felt like it was the book I wanted to read, I was
Mhm.
like, "I think it's funny, I think it's good, and I don't care if I
Yeah.
sell 2 copies," like, I wanted it out in the world, so
Yeah. So good. So what is next for the brand? What is next for the business? Like, what do you do on a daily basis? Are you writing new books? Are you speaking? Fill us in.
I'm reading other people's books and looking at birds and going for hikes, honey. I am in this really amazing place in my life where I am not sure, to be perfectly honest with you,
Yeah.
and I feel like there will be another book just because I know myself, but right now
Yeah.
I'm in a pretty uncomfortable but pretty awesome place of not knowing and just being like, I wanna be very clear that it is fun, it gives me energy rather than depletes my energy, and it has meaning, and those are the 3 things that I'm sort of holding up to everything that I do from here
Yeah.
on. And, I have a bazillion ideas and a million little folders started with everything, but I haven't latched onto one yet, but there will be something at some point.
Yeah.
But
You
in the
said it's
bird,
uncomfortable. Do you feel the pressure to create?
I don't. I mean, I'm not under contract with anybody.
Yeah.
Money is good.
Yeah.
I'm super happy. So I don't have that old fire. Like I used to be so
Yeah.
ambitious. I mean, honestly, it was very fueled by making money because I was so
Mhm.
damn broke all the time. So now that that is no longer the motivation, it's like, wow, now what? Like, how am I going to get off my ass and go do something? But it's fun to create, and I really miss interacting with my readers. That is probably the funnest thing I ever do. So
Yeah.
that'll get me off my
Yeah.
butt.
But imagine what you can create when you don't feel the pressure. You're completely recharged. You're loving your life. You're not doing because you
Yeah,
have to.
it'll be different, but gotta say, like, I love me some pressure. I mean, I wait for the last minute to write all my books. Like, I am a focused monster when I have a lot of pressure. So no pressure's not so good for me.
Okay.
But the good news is you write, you sign a contract with the people, the publishing company,
Yeah.
and give you a check, and then there you go. And then
Yeah.
I'm
And then you've got accountability
full
and
panic
you're
mode.
good.
Things are
Yeah.
good.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Amazing. Before we wrap up, is there any last minute words you would love to say to a business owner? Just that needs to like the people that listen, they are doing well, but they can always be paying themselves more, respecting themselves more, not cutting themselves out of payroll every other Friday if
Oh
money's
my
tight
gosh. Yeah.
that is definitely, I've got people like that listening, and I would love them to hear words of wisdom from Jen.
Okay, people. Um, well, first of all, oh gosh. Okay. Well, get some wealth consciousness books. If you are not reading, I mean, I actually have all the books that I personally loved. It's very personal, as you said, like
Okay,
whatever
yeah.
with you. But if you go to jensincero.com and scroll all the way down, I have resources, and I just listed the books that I love. Wallace Waddle's The Science of Getting Rich. I really have read that book about 100 times. That one really did it for me, but there's plenty more out there. So get your wealth consciousness poop in a scoop and really be diligent about it. Get a damn coach. I mean, that was the greatest thing I ever did. She
Yeah.
charged 1/3 of my annual income. I mean, I was making no money and living in a
Yeah.
garage. So that scared the hell out of me. And she was very focused on women and finances. So hire yourself a damn coach who's all about the money.
Yeah.
Um, and then the thing that I just tell everybody is if you do something every single day that scares the hell out of you in the direction of that you want to go with your business, you
Yeah.
will change your life so quickly you won't even know what hit you. So whether that's doubling your rates or, paying yourself more or
Mhm.
something, if it's financial stuff, like figure it out
Yeah.
and do it every day because that's where the secret lies. That's it. We always pretend we don't know what to do,
Yeah.
but usually we do, we just really don't want to. So that's the thing.
Yeah. It's so funny too how, we want to do something, but it's scary. And then we eventually hopefully do it. And then it's just our new normal and it's not even scary. And it's like not a big deal. And you
Totally.
never go backwards. And why do we wait so long?
I
Right.
know. I know. And that really is the greatest commodity is time. And
Yeah.
the sooner you get yourself, rolling and really living the kind of life you want, the longer you get to live it. So it's
Mhm.
really important that you do it. But yeah, the scary thing, and really pay attention because we're so practiced and talk about habits, like of talking
Mhm.
ourselves out of the thing that we need to do immediately because like when I hired my first coach, she was 1/3 of my annual income and I was already in debt, da, da, da. And the excuses not to hire her were
Yeah.
plentiful and very rational, right? But it was when I was just like figuring out how to do it instead of all the reasons I shouldn't,
Yeah.
that really was the thing that changed my life the most.
Yeah. And I think it's common for people to hear, like, we say get a coach and we all like rave about it. And people think, well, you just say that because you are a coach. So you want us to hire you.
Oh my God.
Truly.
I don't even coach anymore. I don't coach anymore. You can't, that's not, no,
Yeah.
Olympic athletes have coaches. They are
Right.
at the top of their game and they still have coaches. So why do we think we don't need one?
Yeah.
You
And
know?
how do we think we're going to get to the next level by making up something we've never done? Like, if we've never done it, how am I going to teach myself how to do it?
Totally. And having somebody who's not, you're so in the forest, you can't see the trees. You
Yeah.
can hire a coach. I mean, seriously, my coach would say one thing to me a day that I would have taken a year to figure out. And I just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
I can't.
condenses time 1000%.
Oh my gosh. And I ended up making the money I spent back, I tripled my income in 3 months, paid
Yeah.
whatever. It was
Yeah.
incredible. So
Amazing.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so Jen, if somebody's just stumbled upon you today, they have not seen your books or heard of your books, which book do you recommend first? Do we go to the original? Do we go to the money one if we need more money mindset? What do you think?
Um, I kind of think, well, if you really want to do money, I would do You're a Badass at Making Money. If you're really there, and also if you've already done some self-helpy work and sort of
Okay.
know about how your subconscious is driving the bus and all that stuff, I would start with You're a Badass at Making Money. But I do think You Are a Badass is great to just remind yourself. And there's a lot of exercises in there that are also super helpful for anything, money,
Yeah.
relationships, whatever. And then Badass Habits.
Yeah. I don't know why I was thinking the habits was the first one. And then I was like, no, no, no. The habits is the most recent.
And then Badass Habits is sort of, putting all that stuff on autopilot. And then there's
Yeah.
Badass Every Day, which is just sort of like a little kick in the butt every day kind of book.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
So go down the Jen Sincero rabbit hole. You will be happy you did. Thank you so much for sharing, and thanks for sharing the resources on your website too. We'll make sure to check them out. But like I said, that's one of those books where it's like it's my go-to. It just kind of like kicks my butt, gets me back into shape, and I'm just like moving on. And a lot of times, very shortly after, no coincidence, the plateau is gone, right? Like we bust through that next level. So thank you
Right.
for the work you have done. I just appreciate you so much. And thanks for doing something brave when nobody was doing it and nobody wanted it. And you did it anyway. And look how many people desperately needed it.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was so much fun. And yeah, thanks for having me on.